So this is a video on selecting a bike for restoration, and I thought I'd use as an example of this one of my bikes. So this is my RD350lc, had it now for about 9 years, and it's actually due a restoration. I've had it that long now that it needs working at, so we'll go over the things I look at when I'm selecting a bike for restoration. So how do I pick a bike? The first thing I do is a little bit of research, looking what the market's considering, and I need to do that because, you know, as a hobbyist, there are three approaches to this. One is you can do the bikes purely for love of the motorcycle itself and not concern yourself with cost. Two, which is the position I'm in, you can do this as a hobby with zero cost impact, or as close to zero cost impact as you can. So basically I've got to be able to buy the bike, buy the parts, get the work done, do the work, and have a bike at the end of it which covers all those costs. Or the third one is you can do this for profit, okay? And if you're the latter one, then good luck to you, because it is difficult. There is definitely profit to be made at this, but that's really what you need to do, I think anyway, is either A, have a really good facility for doing this type of stuff and really good access to parts, or you're happy to wait, because so long as you buy the right bike, once it's restored you may have no profit in it or even slight loss. But if you just wait 2 or 3 years, the profit tends to come. Like this bike here, I paid what was a lot of money for it back those 9 years ago, 2,700. It was in a bit of a mess. The one thing it had going for it though, which is one of the key elements which I'll talk about in a minute, but it did tick the other boxes, which is one, I knew it was desirable, I knew an RD350lc was desirable, and two, unfortunately, matching numbers. Yeah, you've got to go with matching numbers for bikes which have matching numbers with them. If you don't, then you could lose 40% of their value, easy 40%. So there's the engine crankcase numbers for this bike. Really nice clean strikes. I'll show you what is an unclean strike on another bike in a minute. So we have numbers here, and we'll also have numbers on the chassis frame as well. And the chassis frames are typically on the headstock and hard stamped in, so there may be a plate, right? But they're all, even with a plate, they're normally hard stamped in as well. Now the thing, if you're registering the bike, so if you've got a bike which hasn't been on the road for a while, so you need to get a new number plate, or if it's an import or something, so you need to get it registered. DVLA may choose to come and look at the bike. Okay, so this has happened to me a couple of times, right? So what that means is that they'll send a chap out, and what they're looking for is a bike. So if you've got a chassis and a frame and expecting to get that registered, it's not going to happen. You've got to finish the restore first. So it's a gamble, because if you start the restore and you get to the end of it and it turns out there's something's not right, then you've got a problem. Okay, and there was an issue, and I'll explain it when we look at the other bike. So when they come to look at it, they'll photograph everything. They'll photograph the bike, they'll photograph the numbers, and that includes the heads, the one on the chassis. Now, if you've powder coated or even painted your frame, right, you could be in a bit of a problem if you can't see the numbers, and they will demand you remove the powder coat so they can actually see the numbers properly. I've never had to do that, but I've been awfully close to it a couple of times. If I was faced with that, if they said to me, yeah, we can't see these cleanly, I would remove the powder coat and then have it repowder coated if necessary, or repainted if necessary, because without that they're just not going to do it. One quick story was one chap who came to see me, we were talking about this. I asked him about, do you ever go there and find that there's not actually a bike or a car? And he said yeah, especially with fast forwards. He said it's a massive issue with fast forwards, and he said he went to one garage and he walked in, and all that was there was basically a body shell, right? And you know, the VIN number, and it was being registered as I think it was a Lotus twin cam Mark 1 Escort. So this is what a bad strike looks like. So if you can see, the first number, which is supposed to be a 3, and the last number, which is supposed to be a 6, look really dodgy, especially the 3. Right, now it's a 1G7, right, and then 300566, which matches the frame number. Now this caused massive issues. Now, I don't know if you can, how well you can see it, but if you see, there is all sorts of pitting around it on the side plate and even on the actual chassis block itself. Now this was a really bad pit bike. Right, I've got to stop, my dog's coming. And I've got the garage door open. Wait there, G-Bone. Right, he's waiting there. Right, yeah, so this caused a big problem. It's creeping towards me, and you can see how bad it was. And as I said, this is due to corrosion. So I had all this cleared out. I had really close-up photography taken, showing that the number literally couldn't be made up from another number. This is DVLA went all over this. The police went all over this. The guy who sold me the bike, I was in constant contact with him. He got very upset because he felt I was accusing him of having a stolen bike. Because this is fraud, by the way. If you restamp a bike, it's fraud. Right, it's a very, very serious issue. And I had to explain to him it wasn't about that. It's about that, you know, if it is a restrike, the bike is very difficult to sell. If DVLA had came and says, yeah, that's not right, and walked away, I'd be in trouble. But they didn't, because, as I say, close-up photography, and also there was other work done as well. The police looked into anything similar, chassis numbers or stolen bikes and stuff like that, and it all came out clean. So this is corrosion, right, of the thing, and it just lifted bits of the number, localised it. It just doesn't look great though, and given the choice, you would probably walk away from this one. Sorry, my dog's whining now because I'm not playing with him. Yep. So it's definitely one to do. So alright, Tebow, right, so if you before you buy a bike remotely, as well as taking photographs of the rest of the bike, you know, the bits you feel are important, make sure you get photographs of the numbers, both the number on the frame and also the number on the block, and that includes if they're bikes which are not matching numbers. I don't think Hondas are ever matching numbers, and I think Suzuki's are the same, right? So it's one to bear in mind. This bike here, by the way, this another one. I've got so much work to get through. This one's going to go through, and I'm going to be changing some of these more corroded parts as I have new bits of these. In terms of bike selection and desirability, again, in my opinion, right, so there are bikes which will always have a significant value. You know, the very rare bikes, and the bikes which were massively expensive when they were new. So the Brush Superiors and the Vincent Black Shadows and things like this, they would always have an intrinsically high value. Bikes like this, which went through a very strong growth, will reach a peak, okay, and that peak is governed by the age of the people who saw these as desirable when they were young, and now have sufficient disposable income to buy them now or within the last few years. So what that did is drove a large number of restoration projects. Okay, so there are a lot of these really high quality restoration RD350lcs. If you're looking to buy one, you do have a choice. Okay, you're going to be struggling with the price because people are invested in them. Sometimes it's people who don't understand the market and have an overestimation of the value, but you know, the prices are okay, I think, for this bike. Are they going to go up more? Possibly, but certainly not at the explosive rate they did if you go back in the last 5 years or something. right? But they will creep up because they are designed. They're lovely bikes to ride. You'll notice the exhausts are missing off this bike, by the way. I've taken them off because they need to go for rechroming, the micron exhaust. Yeah, so you have to be, if you're in the latter two of those brackets, so the people who not looking to make money, just get the money back, or looking to make a profit, bike selection to the market is absolutely critical. It really is. You know, the bikes I'm buying for myself, if you like, are different to this. Okay, they're actually, because of my age, this is my bike, this is my era bike. Okay, when I was 18, 19, 20, yeah, that age, this was the bike. You know, you lusted after this bike. The next year up, after that, come the TZRs, the NSRs, the KR1Ss and things like that, and that's the ones I'm going to be looking for to restore. Crumbs, it does need a lot of work. Yeah, I was just looking at parts, sorry. Yeah, so be careful with your bike selection, unless you're buying a bike which is, you know, you're buying it with your heart, and I do have those. Well, I've got me CB400F, which, you know, I've probably put twice as much money into it as I'll ever get back from it, but I absolutely love it. And I loved it. That bike I loved when I was, you know, in school. You know, when I used to sit there drawing pictures of motorbikes, it was that bike I used to draw. Anyway, yeah, so that's the other bit, is vessel selection. Now, in terms of, once you've selected the bike you're looking to restore, you then have to look at what's on the market. So we've talked about the importance of really clean number strikes, okay, and that, without that, you don't have a bike. Okay, don't buy a bike if it doesn't have clean number strikes, right? And the next thing is you go and see the projects, and I've actually bought, you know, anything from what are look to be complete bikes to just a frame and a engine block, right? So what drives that decision is availability of parts. Okay, so RD350lcs, when I bought this, parts were a little bit difficult. You were basically looking at donor bikes more than anything, but parts are so much better now. You know, things like a fizzy, you can buy a fizzy in any condition, and you are going to find every single bit to build that bike up. Right, if you go to one of the bikes I've got lying in the corner, the GT550, that one, it's a massive struggle. Yeah, you can have one part missing from it, and that'll hold you back 6 months trying to find it. So, but these bikes really well covered. Okay, you can basically, an RD350, so you can basically find anything. So, when I either go to look at a bike or much more commonly get photographs, I ask to get the photographs purely to find what's missing. Okay, if it's on and it looks ropey, don't care. Okay, because you can fix much easier than you can find, much easier. So you want a bike that's basically 100% complete. Right. So in terms of paintwork, okay, so the frames, you know, the frames I always get powder coated, okay, and that even includes some of the more complex ones, and the reason for doing those is because they're so expensive to paint. And I'm talking about pressed steel ones, like on the PC50. That would have been massively expensive to paint, because it would have had to have been acid dipped to clean all the stuff off, and then dip coated. Right, whereas powder coating, you just blast it, and then powder coat is really easy. Anyway, so when you're looking at the body work, so this is a 350lc. This has got a distinct tank, distinct side panels and things like this. The side panels are plastic. If you can get originals, it's much better, but they do crack, you know, so you need to look at that, because otherwise replacement. And replacements are really cheap. The tank, okay, so that's the bit that everybody looks at, is the tank. So the tank's got to be right. So to repaint the tank, so to repaint this bike in particular with all the parts of it, right, including the front fender, so, the rear tailstock and all that, you're looking at around, like, let's say the £500 mark, something like that. Dog's coming to check it out again. Right. However, if you've got dents on the tank, I work on £100 per dent. So you look at the tank, and if there's 2 or 3 dents on it, you'd add them £300 to that cost, and that might make all the difference. So sometimes it's cheaper to go and get a different tank, even though the tank's in good condition. So mileage, right, this has got 22,000 miles on it, and you can take that with a pinch of salt. You really can, because you don't know what the history of the clocks are. I mean, this bike is what, 40 years old? Something like that, maybe a bit more. Is it? Yeah, something like that. Checking my maths in my head quickly. Right, yeah, it must be 40 because it's tax-free. So, but you can take a bit, because you don't know the true history of the clocks. It could have been changed. It's restoration history is obviously more important. Now, this is a glorious example. This bike, this is a fully restored nut and bolt restoration bike. Fully restored nut and bolts. Everything's been done to this bike 9 years ago. It's a 9-year-old bike. It's an old bike. Right. So another important one to look at is the condition of the forks, and as you can see on this one, this is starting to get corrosion on it. It's really, really annoying me. As I say, this is because of poor layout. In terms of the actual uprights are although they look bad, they'll polish up in 2 minutes. But unfortunately, I'll give that a polish. But you can't mess about with this. You know, if you've got corrosion like that, it's most likely going to be a replacement. So that's expensive. What's one of those costing? £70–80. As I say, good news is availability is good. There's an option this here. So this is the bezel around the headlight, and again, corrosion, really disappointing. You see that, the chrome coming off. You see how thin the chrome is. So, sure as God made little apples, this was a cheap copy. This one may not have had a headlight when I bought it. Can't remember now. So that's a worry. There are good things on this bike, but even stuff like this, you know, it's just the age of the bike. I mean, I've put a lot of miles on this bike, let's be clear. You know, this was my go-to bike. This is the one I used to go riding in all sorts of weather. I think there's a video I've done of riding this bike. So it has had a heavy life. I can see the engine is rock solid. So I'm not planning on doing a complete strip of the engine. I've got to take parts off it though for repainting, but it's not my intent to completely take the engine apart, which I normally do. So this is something I will have to do. So this is the kickstart, and if you can see, it's supposed to be that olive drab green, and it is not. So I will have to have that galvanized and passivated olive. Just looking. There's no leaks or nothing. You can see that. It just looks a bit tired, to be honest, more than anything. So the carbs will come out. They'll be serviced. Yeah, I'll overhaul those. It's pretty pointless not to do that, to be honest. All the steel looks pretty good. This all looks good. So this will come off. This will go in the attic before I do anything stupid with it. So it's not going to be horrendously expensive to do this, because I've done it before. This bike is slightly unusual, a little bit of a potted history. You won't be able to see this, but I'll try and get a photograph when I've got it apart. But this bike may have been racing, okay, and the reason why I say that is because the centre stand had been cut off. Right, so, and all the fitments for the centre stand had been cut off. So I actually made a new arrangement, and if I can, I'll show you that. I may have a photograph, I may be able to add it to this. It was also this is an early model one, so it was a non-tie bar one, but interestingly, on the block that where the tie bar is screwed into, there are if you like, places for it in the block, and it just needed tapping out. So I fitted tie bars to it because of this exhaust. This is a Micron exhaust, and I really liked it. And just the way these mount. The reason why they add tie bars is to protect the exhaust from memory, because they used to crack. That's why you ended up with the later thicker flange models. So there's a couple of changes made to this bike for the better, I'd like to think. It does look awfully tired though, if I show you all this. So this will polish up, but this is may polish up. We'll see, we'll get it off and we'll have a look. I will do a strip down video for this, if that's hopefully of interest. And we'll go through. I did fit red pipes to this, which I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't know. I mean, if anybody could send a comment to see if they think that the red pipes make it look better or worse, I'd be really interested, because when I did it I thought it was great. Now when I look back at it I'm just not so sure. Yeah, so a bit of work to do, but it won't. If I could start it now, but because I know mechanically it's fine, but it's tired and needs work. Okay.